Welcome back to another episode of A Gift from Adversity. My name is Juri. I'm your host. Thank you very much for tuning in. Today we are recording episode 76. Before I introduce tonight's guest, Dean FM, I want to introduce my book, which is called A Gift from Adversity by Juri. It's available on Amazon, and the subtitle is Overcoming Sexual Abuse, Domestic Violence, Bullying, and Homelessness. After I experienced all of this adversity in my life, I have decided to publish a book and speak out in my truth. After I published my book in 2020, I got a lot of messages from other people. They are also the victim of sexual abuse, and some people reached out to me in the middle of domestic violence, and I felt very compelled this year, the beginning, to create a platform where people can talk about adversities. And as a whole, I wanted to normalize difficult conversations and bring out some tools that people use to overcome these challenges in our lives, and a gift that came from it. So thank you for all of our guests from all over the world. And I am very grateful to have another episode tonight. So let's invite Dean. Hello,
Hi,
Dean.
how are you?
Good. How are you? Thank you so much for coming here. And before I introduce you, I want to shout out to my friend JASS Bianchi for introducing us today.
Yes.
So, Dean, can you please introduce your name, what you do, and if you have a website and social media you want people to know, please tell us.
Yes, my name is Dean FM. My full name is Dean FraserMilford. That's my artist name. I am a rapper and a singer and an activist in the areas of uh, animal abuse, welfare, and Black trans women safety and security. That I haven't worked intensely in those fields as much as I would have liked to, as much as I would like to as of yet. But I'm trying to get more into that. And in terms of a website, my website is deanfmofficial.com, and I think that's about it. And I also have Dean FM Official on my Instagram and Facebook as well.
All right, so people check out deanfmofficial.com and Instagram the same, deanfmofficial. So thank you very much for your introduction. So let's dive into your adversity. So can you tell our audience what was your adversity?
So growing up, I had since late childhood, I was suffering with anxiety, depression, and learning disorder related issues. And then going into that's affected me my whole life: anxiety, depression, and social anxiety as well. Um, and I've been trying to cope with different mechanisms, but in terms of the primary issue that I've had in my life has been my addiction, which is something that I'm working to move past, which I'm in recovery for now. And in terms of being queer, that's not something that has been the worst obstacle in my life, but it's still something that I'm aware is something that can hinder me in the future. Yeah,
Well, thank you so much for
those about the different adversities that I have, and yeah.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that, and then um, really being here, and then willing to share your story. So before we move on to second question, we want to really dissect a lot of things that you've said really quickly. So first of all, let's talk about anxiety and depression. growing up, what do you think that caused your anxiety and depression growing up? Was there any traumatic event, something that happened to you that made you feel more anxiety?
No, no. When it comes to the mental health problems that I've had, it's been mostly caused by things that I don't know. Like just it's a lot of, I think, brain chemistry with me. It's a lot of things that don't really have a cause, that were just about to happen. Uh, so I can't really pinpoint if there was anything specific that would have triggered anything or could attribute it to that in any significant way. Yeah, I don't think ever been a time that I have had a traumatic event that would have led to that.
So when did you start to realize that you do have this anxiety or depression growing up, like middle school, like high school?
Yeah, around middle school and middle school was when the depression and anxiety were prevalent, and they were very noticeable. The panic disorder, which is part of the anxiety, was around second grade is when I first started with feeling those. And um and uh when it yeah so and but the learning disorder has always been a piece as well since the end of elementary school.
So, and also you kind of mentioned about um addiction part of it.
Hmm.
Like what was the addiction?
So since college, after I left school and I went to college, and then I was in a very much party mindset. I wanted to party a lot, and I got through the first year of college okay, but that summer when I started smoking marijuana, which is not, I don't attribute completely to the problem, but that's when I started smoking marijuana. And I when I went back to school, I wanted that high and that feeling again, and drinking wasn't something that was easy for me to do. So um, I looked into over the counter cough medicine, and that's what I've always had as the issue, is over the counter cough medicine, which is it's interesting being in a predicament where there's like where you're taking a drug that isn't used that way commonly at all by many people, and it's not studied. So it's there's a lot of what ifs and questions about what how that affected me.
So during the college, that you kind of started this cough medicine and addiction part of it, do you think the anxiety part or panic disorder part, did it increase, would you say, with this addiction substance? Did it get worse, you think?
um so it definitely played a part in me getting the disorder, and I mean getting the substance abuse disorder, and also I think it definitely made it worse afterwards. It was, in a way, there was a way to calm myself from, you know, a lot of those things. So it gave me an answer in a way, but obviously those type of things aren't long term when it comes to just the effect that it gives you is not going to be that way. It's the high is the high, and then it comes down. So yeah, yeah,
Would
that's
think
my anxiety. And when I came when I began smoking, I'd say that the cough syrup what use was a pretty uh impactful when it came to the come down period. After you use, you get very sick. And also there's the same thing when I was smoking marijuana. I would smoke way too much, and I would get a syndrome, a marijuana related syndrome, that where you get very sick too, and that manifested in ER visits, emergency room visits, and feeling so like panic attacks and things like that.
That's a lot to take in. And then how did it affect your studying at college?
Oh, so after I started using, I had to I drop out like that the same month around. So I didn't study with while doing all that for long at all.
So after you dropped out the college, what happened?
After I dropped out of college, my grandmother passed away a month or two after, and that was followed immediately by my dog passing away. But the my grandmother was obviously the more prominent and more uh, devastating loss for me, as I've never had people have died in my life. I've never had people die before her, and in my life that I knew and were close to. So then, after around that time, I was using very heavily. Uh, had a lot of different like scary, times because I was using extremely heavily. With that dope, with the medicine I was taking, there is a possibility you can overdose. So I've gotten very close to that, and I'm thankful that I haven't gone over that. But I was definitely trying to numb myself from my grandmother passing away.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah, and it it led to that summer. I tried to go to back to school for a Berkeley semester for songwriting, I believe. And when I went, that didn't last long at all either. As I was using much more than I was at college prior to that. So, uh, and then I went to my first rehab in September of that year, and that's been on and off since then.
So when you went to the rehab, like I really don't understand how it kind of works, but do you check in yourself or did somebody recommend you check in to the rehab?
Yes, I my mother, being that I was 21, I was very new to being an adult. My mother knew that I was had youthful, tendencies, and I was a late bloomer. So she kind of, I feel, since I was also very much dependent on her more than people my age, she made that push for me to go to my first rehab treatment. Like it, it not to say that I wasn't involved in that decision, but it was definitely not something that I was able to maintain for that period. But it would have worked if I had that motivation and the drive to do it, because they say that you have to want to change yourself. You can't just change um, without giving an effort towards caring, really caring.
So you got out of the rehab and you try to get a job and stuff afterwards?
Yes, yes. That year, I got a job at McDonald's, so which is nothing wrong. That was just how I had to do that. And I worked at McDonald's, and I'm still in customer service for as 5 to 8 years. And the reason that, you know, while you know, I just I had higher hopes, and it's not to say that that was a lesser of a job, but it was definitely a different field that I wanted to be in. But so it was a it's sorry, it's hard to I'm not I when it comes to the customer service work and the and how that's kind of been a downer comparison to college, where I had all these hopes, and as a young person you really want to do it, and then you're kind of put to this place where you're unable to help yourself, and you're only working like a part-time customer service jobs. So it's like I wish I could have done better, and I've always had that as a big doubt, a big uh thing I would have done differently. But it was because I was young, and I wanted to have fun in college. So
So, Dean, tell me a little bit about being a Black woman, transgender, that you mentioned, queer part of it. Like, how did it affect you growing up about your gender identification and maybe self doubt or something? Like, how did you deal with that growing up?
Um, okay, well, so when it comes to the black trans women who are, and specifically what I'm trying to think about with that situation is how many times I've heard about black trans women in the South who have been murdered or beaten up, or there's a lot of hate crimes with police and all that. Uh, relating that to my experiences, I don't feel as if, especially with my identity as being a non-binary or genderqueer, androgynous. I don't have labels for my gender, so it's not. I'm not undergoing hormones, and I'm not trying to actively change that. Uh, so, however, I do relate very heavily to in the Black community. There's a lot of different there's a lot of strong opinions on homosexuality and transgender people. So uh, I can just feel that how difficult it would actually be, and it's shown in the numbers and in the amount of people that are killed, that these things are more prominent in the hood or in the lower income areas, or where these things can happen. I'm very privileged that I grew up in a very relatively nice uh, background. So it's hard to say that I can relate. I have my own personal struggles, but I don't feel like I can um, personally. I don't feel like I can hold a candle to those struggles in that way. But obviously, I can't. We can't like compare those type of things. So yeah.
So, how was it dealing with your parents? Did they have any rejection, or any resistance of you being transgender?
Um, Not about, well, again, so I'm not transgender. I wouldn't say, I know that that might appear, that's how the appearance comes off, but yeah, I'm not. I'm more so androgynous or genderqueer. So with those things, I've never discussed it because I never felt it was important to really go into. With being gay, I told my mother when I was 16 when I came out in high school. So that was when I told her, and she was surprised, but she wasn't mean about it or abusive about it, and that was a pretty smooth experience. Mm. Yeah, with my father, we didn't discuss it at all. I still haven't. So it's just the way we are. I don't. My mother did make it a little difficult here and there sometimes when it came to wearing long hair and wearing more feminine clothing and nails and all that. We've had all these struggles, and uh, but I can't blame her for as much as she's done for me, and in terms of having a little leeway, giving some of that respect to somebody, even though they aren't perfect. I still love her very much.
And how about your friends and like some peers? Did you struggle with any bullying or any discrimination?
Not bullying, not physical bullying, but mental bullying, and not mental bullying, but verbal and being compared more so less about my race than of my gender, being that I'm a light skinned African American. There's been in a racial way with other black kids black kids saying that you're not black, and that you're not this, and I am my heritage has biologically, since I'm adopted, I'm half black and I'm half white. So it's um with there's always been a struggle there with trying to see where I fit in, especially as a kid. But there was not a lot of bullying and like pushing me and there's stuff like that. No, no, sorry.
No problem. So you mentioned a little bit of you adopted.
Yes,
Did you have any struggle with your being adoptee at all?
with the when I learned that I was adopted.
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't really care at first until I found out the biracial part of it. That kind of added a spin to it that was shocking to me. Being that when you, especially, I mean, feel like things are changing, but like when it came to that time period, like the '90s and all that, I mean, we're just leaving like the race is everything, part of of the society. So I definitely had the in my mind that that was not something that was gonna be comfortable for me, being that you want to be black, you want to be you're one. At least that's how I thought with my child mindset. But yeah, it was hard learning that I was adopted mostly for that reason.
And did you find your biological parents?
Yes, last 5 years, in the last 5 years, right before COVID, I found my biological mother and the whole family. Unfortunately, the father's just not in the picture, but she knows who he is. It's just but it's good to know my brothers and sisters now, and it was a great moment for me.
Well, so you had a multiple layer of challenges in your life, and that was leading to a lot of things. But I really appreciate you sharing those informations, and especially, um, you know, dealing with this anxiety, a panic disorder, learning disorder, and addiction, and then being adopted, and the gender identity and acceptance. I think like that's a lot to take in. That's a lot to deal with, and all these combined, is it affecting your adulthood life right now? Like, do you feel like overwhelmed? Do you feel that it's still kind of haunting you, affecting you for what you went through, especially after the middle school stuff?
Yeah, it's I think it's still just starting. Like I think there's a lot that's to come my way with my mental health. I have a lot of things that I still need to work on, including gaining back a lot of my independence, socially and financially as well. Having to recover from all those times I spent huge amounts of money on these substances, and it's something I don't feel like it's ever going to change. For me, I know that there's going to be days that get as it gets better. I can't, but in a recovery, I don't think that there's a like a I don't know. Just for me, I can't say if there's like a cure for it, but for me, it's like there's no. I'm not trying to heal anything at this point. I feel like it's just about going day by day, seeing how I feel, and trying to cope through my music primarily and through creativity, as I've always done. Just trying to make it through, and not for every moment to feel so treacherous. And when you have depression and a certain level of depression, and all type of there's many types. Sometimes you feel very paralyzed during the day, and that's how I feel a lot of the times. Is paralyzed, but outside of those moments, you still try to push to do the your coping mechanisms. But I try not to hold myself to uh, the I can't like I'm not going to be paralyzed, because yes I am going to be paralyzed. Like sometimes I just have to embrace that this is this is how it is. And I'm trying to uh, not go overboard, but still have hopes for the future.
So, Dean, I just want to really appreciate you. And also, I want to share personally with you and with our audience that going through what I went through, say child sex abuse, domestic violence, bullying, homelessness, and obviously that affected my adulthood life. And chunk of it is because I really didn't have like a platform or resources. And growing up, I was born in 1976 in Japan. Mental health was never talked about. Um, it was not a priority. Just deal with it. Don't talk about it, kind of like wear social mask. I was in Japan. I worked in Japan, and we even have this word neko kaburu, which means wear a cat mask. So when you go to work, you don't show it. You don't like reveal what's inside of you.
Oh.
So that basically, as a whole, as a society, that we can be the economic boost for our country. Especially, I would say after the World War II, there's a competitiveness of our country being very poor, losing the war, and then trying to recover from the war, that I think, especially my mom generations as well, and we were put to force to be workaholic in a way to catch up to the economic level and technology wise too. So I would say a lot, not just me personally, but from the history of the war, the country, and the culturally, I think that affected all of us. Looking back, Dean, as a Black person that maybe growing up with lack of resources, how would you describe this kind of challenges that you faced, that socially, maybe culturally affected you as personally, and like how do you, looking back, analyze that situation?
And in the perspective of race.
Yes, and the mental health, and maybe lack of resource, like growing up, maybe because we never really had this kind of platform or talked about.
um, I don't think that there's a. It's just it was. I don't. One thing I'll say is that mental health, I know, is not saying that has like a, a political like agenda. Like I think it affects like everybody. Like and I wish that I could say that I have a lot to accompany my mental health issues, to say that I had that to make it easier for people to understand how hard it is for me. But it's just my experience. I can't say that my childhood was the worst at all. I don't want to give that give that to my mother. That's not her fault. Those things happen, and or that my mental health happened and all that. Just I'd say the biggest thing was not taking drug seriously, just not taking that this is gonna hurt you, this is gonna kill you eventually. I didn't take any of that seriously. So I would definitely have thought about that a little clearer, but at the same time I feel like there was a lot more issues even that weren't addressed, that in my from my childhood. I'm not sure if I feel like there's other mental pieces there that aren't quite diagnosed yet. So that's also part of the ongoing journey, but definitely trying to pinpoint that early on. I just should have taken it much more seriously. I can't blame myself because I was a child, but I yeah, it's just it is that's my was my ignorance. So
Well, not just your ignorance. I think it's very lack of resources, and then lack of the normalizing these issues, and there's so much stigma still around it. And I think that's part of the big problem as well. So Dean,
Sorry. Yes, I'm sorry.
Don't worry. So let's move on to the number two. The question is the tools that you use to overcome. You kind of mentioned a little bit of music and stuff, but
Yeah.
what do you think the tools that you use to overcome these challenges that really work for you?
With the music. One second. I'm sorry. My phone. I just had to plug it in. I didn't want to. One second. I'm sorry. Shoot. Okay. Here we go. Yes, the music with trying to being in high school, listening to my favorite artists uh, was really something that helped me, especially having come out of the closet around freshman year. I was very much trying to get in tune with being, queer and being fabulous and all these things, and I I gravitated towards female artists, female rappers, and hip hop artists who would have that very feminine, pretty uh, vibe and energy with the music. When it comes to making music now, I definitely try to harness that energy. That's there was like the difference between being in school and being bored, and being in school and feeling like you're the hot, the to the hot thing. So I love to, when working in my music, to channel those feelings, and also to you know recently, more so with my music and with the projects that I've come out with, watch it was very much so a very explicit, very much that only, just party only. The last one 2 years ago is called Sissy, and that's the album that's out now, prior to the one that's going to be coming out soon. And that one's has a much more intense message in the lyrics. So I'm trying to, while maintaining my youthful self that I like to see in that music. I I'm trying to, share and really actually use my writing skills for something that can just actually describe a little bit of who's behind saying all this. And there's a lot of things I haven't to that I feel like I can share in that way. It, being somebody who is very much visually oriented and is a visual learner, trying to it being descriptive, and I find I found that it's helped with just trying to find my own lane in the music, and trying to not only do this but do it and make it, this is who you are. Like, you have a lot of depressing things, but there's also like a party song going on, like the party beat and rhythm, and it's but you're talking about something serious. And I feel like that's something that a lot of other artists do, and I feel like it's going to be important, especially in reaching the queer community with that dance hall music and that culture and all these type of things, while saying something that's important.
And how has it been with being authentic and having lyrics and having this music with you that really sending message to this population? Are you having followers? Are you having feedbacks? And how is that going?
So my following is pretty good right now. I'm at a 1.6 or 7K on Instagram. That's the highest I've gotten in terms of a natural organic reach. Uh, and when it comes to the gay community, trying to reach them, it's not as easy to target queer and gender non-conforming people, and when you do demographics and you want to target people, I try to just, which is okay with me, because I'm really trying to spread this message to everyone, not just the queer community. But obviously I want that, I would appreciate the support. But unfortunately, like with social media, it's not very easy to pinpoint all those types of people and to advertise to them, or to not advertise, but or to try to communicate with them. Except for doing it by myself, going to different pages and groups, and I do that as well. So yeah, it's the queer community online has been fine, but there's a lot of, obviously, when you're online, there's a lot of hate comments and things like that that can get to your mental health, and those things are things I should have been more prepared for, but I'm lucky that I was equipped to deal with them at the time. But they are something that people should definitely be concerned about if you're a sensitive person like I am.
Have you received any positive comment or feedback or DM like saying, "Oh, your lyrics really helped me or inspired me" and stuff?
Yeah, I mean, with my visual content mostly that I've done so far, the people have really liked my performance, and a few of my homemade music videos. People have said that they're gonna listen to this all day. This is their favorite song. Those things really help me. Those really make me happy to hear that I can help somebody get through that situation, even though they're probably being nice, but I'm sure that they mean it. But it's the song. I'm visually, I feel, as well, I'm pretty strong as an artist too, trying to really portray, con- con- convey those two things together. uh I build I feel I can build a much bigger picture and idea as to what I'm trying to get across with my visuals. So people definitely have said that they uh like like that type of thing, and I'm still waiting to get like more like in-depth analysis of my lyrics. But that's also, as an artist thing, I'm growing. I've been doing this for 10 years, but I'm still growing and trying to improve everything, every part of it.
So, in terms of the tools, that music definitely is helping you to express your true self and your feelings and stuff. Is there anything else that you have used that has been helping or impacting in a positive way?
My dogs. My dogs are my love. I love I have a little girl right now, and she's a little puppy. In my eyes, she's 4 years old, but also, like, I had many dogs. Like I mentioned, my dog passed from childhood, and recently in the September, the other one passed. So that's difficult, but that's just with life. But yeah, they've definitely been helpful.
I had a little French bulldog with
Oh,
my
really?
husband. Yeah, her name is Soba,
Oh.
and she was very cute. Yeah, she was very jumpy. And yeah, you know what? I think some animals, I've seen like service animals come. For instance, I was working in a detention program, and sometimes the um, dog come, but they're trained dogs. And then, the boys who are in a detention program, like they love the dog. And sometimes I work at the Alzheimer residential place too, and then sometimes animal has those kind of healing um, vibe to it. And I think
Yes.
part of it is a lot of times that we go through these challenges in life, self validation and trying to fill the void, those are really hard. And then, as much as people say, "Oh, Dean, I like your music," and then you inspire me, and then these kind of comment and compliment that you take, but if you don't validate yourself, it really means nothing. When it comes to animal, they are less judgmental, and
Yes.
they give you kind of unconditional consistency and love, where human being can manipulate you, lie to you, betray you, or kind of like unexpected behaviors that you can't even like um comprehend. And I think sometimes having those company um is one of the tools that I definitely recommend as well.
Yeah, yeah. Animal therapy is, they have emotional support animals now, and you can have those licenses to be able to take your animal if it's certified to places to keep you company, because that is very important to be able to have that comfort if um, that human presence is not readily available for you.
Yes, I think I've seen more and more um, service dogs, not for just, people with blindness, but people with the anxiety, and having that pet available next to you at all time. I think that is definitely one of the tools.
Yes.
Great. Well, Dean, I really appreciate you being here. Let's
Thank
move on to the last question, which is a gift that came from the adversity. So, would you tell our audience, how would you describe a gift that came from your adversity?
you. Life experience for me, trying to, yeah, life experience, and being more in tune with myself, and knowing what I can handle, what I can't handle, and not giving myself too much, not setting the bar low, but not setting it super high. Trying to be as manageable, and do what I can, and not put in that much too much pressure on. I'm working on it. We're all human, which we all have varying levels of mental illness, and it doesn't make anybody less because you have anything wrong with your thinking.
So, a gift you say is life experience, and
Yes.
then these perspectives that comes along.
Yes. Yes. I mean, life experience, and you just being, yeah, being able to know what you can, your limitations. I think it's very important. Being aware that you aren't, like in special education. How is in special education? There's, you have to you know be understanding that you're not a bad person. You're just kind of, you just need a little extra help, and that's what I definitely feel is a sums up my my whole existence here. Like, just I need a little extra help, but once I get there, I think I'm gonna be excel in other areas.
Yes, absolutely. So, Dean, thank you again for being here. Before you go, I want you to give an advice to people who might be experiencing right now about what you had went through, especially queer part of it, adoption, depression, panic disorder, addiction. Like, what would you say your biggest advice is to those folks out there?
It gets better is my favorite quote from high school, from the It Gets Better project, because I do believe that it will get better. You have to keep your head up. I mean, and it sounds corny, but you just gotta. There's no other way to look at it. You either, it's either you're gonna be upset about this, or you're gonna try to not be moving. But give yourself time, and yeah, just it gets better.
Well, thank you again for coming to a Gift from Adversity podcast today. And I appreciate you sharing your time and having this conversation. I know this is not an easy thing to share, but for us and for the audience and for our next generations to come, this is absolutely important conversation that we are having. And I hope that whoever is going to be listening or is listening,
Hmm.
maybe they can get something out of our conversation today.
Yes, absolutely. I'm very thankful, and I appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, everyone. And I have more guests coming to our podcast, and I'm really grateful. And let's keep it going and have a wonderful night.
All right, thank you. Bye bye.